No harm done, Rarity beamed, her mood instantly improved. Now we all have our moments. Now please, do continue with your story. Apple Bloom didn't tell you about the repairs? Right, Applejack began again, only a trace of the drawl in that first word. Now I began inquiring around the farm about the new planks. Big Macintosh had no idea what it was all about, and we both knew that Granny Smith was not in good enough health to possibly do them herself. We even hunted down the old hired help, Carmel, to see if he knew anything about it, but he didn't. And did Apple Bloom come forward then? Well, she was the last one we had left to ask, and I remembered the repair work she'd done on the old tree house. It took a little coaxing, but she confessed to it. And you showed her you weren't upset, right? Darn tootin', she burst out, chest swelling with pride. I got right out and told her that anything else we found broke down, she tweren't more than welcome to take a shot at fixing her up. She might not be a carpenter, but she sure showed she know how to handle a hammer and saw. I even told her, The farm pony blushed and looked down as she realized her lapse in speech. Sorry about that. Oh, no, it's quite all right, the unicorn said through a strained smile. She couldn't really blame her friend for falling back into her accent. She was proud of her sister, after all. Still, with the southern drawl coming back, all the grammar complication and mangled words had made her put her teeth on edge. I think that's enough for today, she continued, standing up from the table and trotting back toward one of her clothed mannequins. I need to finish the last few stitches on this outfit, and then we'll have all 6 of them done. Not bad for a week's plus work, don't you think? If you say so, Applejack replied, as she stood herself and trotted to another mannequin to retrieve her hat. Silently, she was relieved to have the session over with, though she still felt bad about letting her friend down. I'm awful sorry about that, Rarity. I only fancy talked for about 2 days when I went to Manhattan, you know. It's not a problem, the white pony assured, though her face was still directed toward the dress. It just takes time, and we still have a few days left before the exhibition starts. I'm certain we'll have you used to speaking without an accent before that time. The farm pony tossed her hat on before she directed a glare back to her friends. I told you I don't have an accent. Yes, I know, came the reply. A hoof waved dismissively in her direction. In the meantime, I think you'd best get your wares organized. Mr. Marmalade will be bringing a chariot to take our supplies to the exhibition a day before. That reminds me, where is the EAC being held this year? Oh, it's some city out in the heartland of Equestria. Yoklahoma City, I think. Right in the middle of cow country, the blonde mused, a hoof stroking her chin in contemplation. Lot of farming and growing up around those parts. Y'all sure I even need to use my city voice there? Now, Applejack, don't you go looking for excuses. The white pony brought her head up from her work and gave her a stern look. Just because it's being held in the center of the agricultural industry does not mean the ponies there will all speak as plainly as you do. Besides, you've already made so much progress. It would be a shame to let it all go to waste now. There was a sigh as Applejack lowered her head. I know. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, then. Bright and early as usual, right? Rarity's look softened as the farmer clomped toward the door. Of course, dear, and don't be so glum. Just remember, this is all for your own good. There was a barely perceptible nod as the earth pony walked out of the boutique. Out in the fresh air and sunshine again, she felt her spirits pick up as she began to make her way home to Sweet Apple Acres. She's right, she found herself musing. She's trying her best to help me make a good impression on the rich folks, and she already helped me get a spot at the expo. I just need to stop dragging my hooves about it. Looked up at the sky as she took a deep breath and sighed. I just can't help but feel this whole high-class thing is being dishonest with myself. The day had arrived. Within 24 hours, a pair of wagons would appear, bearing Mr. Marmalade's cutie mark to unload precious cargo to Yoklahoma City. The day after, the Equestrian Agricultural Conference and Exhibition would begin. Rarity's boutique had been prepped and locked up, the unicorn herself running around all 10 outfits waiting for unloading. She would add a stitch there, prep a piece of fabric here, and would no doubt be fussing over the garments well into the day the convention doors opened. Occasionally, her eyes would glance over to a box she'd prepared for the past 2 weeks in secret. I just know she's going to look fabulous in it, the dressmaker thought to herself. Applejack, in the meantime, had her hooves full. She currently had 4 pies in the oven. Granny Smith was working the last of the caramel apples, Big Mac was out back, picking the best-looking ripe apples that he could find for display, and Apple Bloom was currently trying her best to convince her big sister that she should come along too. But sis, I can help. I know I can. Y'all just haven't given me the chance, she shouted, mane bobbing as she practically bounced in place beside her sibling in the Apple family kitchen. The farm fully couldn't talk, on account of her mouth being full of pot pad as she hoisted a hot apple pie out of the oven. As soon as it was settled on a cooling rack, however, she was quick to give her response. Sorry, Sugar Cube, but I barely managed to get my own self attached to this here expo, and there's no way I can ask Mr. Marmalade to tack on one more pony. Plus, not to go rubbing chicken droppings in the laundry, but I still remember what happened the last time you helped me sell apples. Aww! The yellow pony whined, her head and eyes dropping down low. And I was hoping y'all wouldn't mention that again. Applejack chuckled before rubbing her sister's head. I tell you what, run upstairs and get washed up. If nothing else, I can have y'all helping me taking pies out to the wagon once it gets here. Sure thing, sis, the filly exclaimed, eyes alight once more before she scampered out of the kitchen. There was a soft chuckle from the corner of the room as Granny Smith watched her go, a line of caramel apples building on the table. Land sakes, the young'un knows how to skedaddle, don't she? She sure does, the farm pony agreed, a smile on her face. It held there a second before it collapsed as she turned to her grandmother. Am I making the right choice here, Granny? This could put the farm on stable ground finally. But to make it happen, I'm going to have to act like a city pony again, and I remember how cross ways y'all were the first time I went to Manhattan. There was a wave of a hoof as the old mare pshawed at her. 'Tis all in the past, A.J. You have to do what you have to do. The only thing I draw the line at is when they make you put a bear suit on and do the whirling dervish. I'll have no part of those stallion grab types, you hear? I hear, Granny, Applejack agreed, though her face was a picture of amused bewilderment. And don't worry, all we're doing is heading out to Oklahoma City and selling apples. We're bound to make some dough for sure. Granny simply nodded with a smile as she picked up another apple and dipped it in the caramel goodness. As she sat it down to harden, she fixed her granddaughter with another look. How have those speech classes your friends been giving you going? The orange horse almost dropped the next pie she'd been hauling out to the oven. As soon as her mouth was free, she stammered, they've been going pretty okay. I think I can handle them big city folk without making myself look like too much of a fool now. There was a smile. Can you show me? Beads of sweat collected on her brow. Her granny was asking her to talk sophisticated for her. Well, it's Granny Smith asking. Can't rightly say no to her. She brought a hoof to her chest as she cleared her throat. If you want, Granny Smith, I have to say I'm still not comfortable talking like this. I've been rehearsing strictly for the exhibition, but, well, since you asked... There was a gallop of small hooves before Applebloom reappeared in the kitchen door, her mane hastily combed but still slightly damp. Hey, sis! Where do you want me to put the pies when the wagons get here? Applejack turned to her sister with a smile. Oh, you need not worry about that yet, Applebloom. They probably won't arrive until later this evening. The smaller filly stared blankly at her big sister before she spoke. Applejack, what in the hay happened to your voice? There was a second of confusion, followed by a widening of the eyes and a blushing of the cheeks. Oh, sorry about that, Sugar Cube. I was just practicing, you see. You know, like... She has to talk like a city pony at the expo, Granny Smith spoke up, saving her granddaughter. She done it before, if you remember. Oh, yeah, Applebloom drawled, her eyes widening. When you told us your cutie mark story. Is that how you sounded when you visited Aunt and Uncle Orange? Sorta. The orange equine looked to the side before standing up on all four hooves. I tweren't any good at it at the time, but if I'm to fit in at the exhibition without them throwing me out like a barrel of scrumpy apples, I gotta sound like the rest of them city folk. Oh, if I sound like a city pony, could I come then? Ahem. I do declare I believe I can come along if I sound all high class, yes? There was a round of laughter at Applebloom's poor imitation, leaving the filly with an embarrassed blush and a set of downturned ears. She squeaked, however, as she was suddenly embraced by her sister. Aw, don't be too quick to try and pick up something I don't rightly like myself. Let me tell ya, it ain't no fun at all. If you say so, sis, she sighed. She was released, and she headed out to the front door to wait for their transportation.